All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're cracking open a 200-year-old spiritual text, but not for what you might think. We're looking for some seriously sharp, totally relevant management wisdom. And this whole idea comes from the work of Dr. Manish Chavda. So here's the big question, right? What on earth can a spiritual scripture from 2 centuries ago teach a manager, a 21st century manager, about hitting their quarterly targets? It sounds like a total stretch. I get it. Ancient wisdom versus modern office pressure. But stick with me here, because what you're about to see is that the rules for leading a good life and the rules for leading a great team, well, they might just be a lot closer than you think. Okay, so before we dive deep, let's set the stage. We need to get a handle on the two big pieces of this puzzle, the ancient text itself and the brilliant mind that's helping us see it in a whole new light. So the source text we're talking about is the Shikshapatri. And get this, it was written way back in 1826. It's got 212 verses, so it's pretty concise. You can think of it as a kind of code of conduct, a manual for living a disciplined, ethical life. But here's the really cool part. We're going to see how those exact same ideas about how to be a good person translate almost perfectly into powerful principles for being a great leader in the office. And the person guiding us through all this is Dr. Manish Chavda. Now, you got to look at his qualifications, because this is what makes his perspective so unique. We're talking a double MA, a B.Ed, and then an MBA and a PhD. See that mix? It's that blend of humanities, education, and hardcore business training that gives him this incredible ability to connect ancient philosophy with the realities of the modern boardroom. It's the perfect combination, really. All right, let's get into the first major theme. And here's the key. It doesn't start with managing your team or your projects. Nope, it starts with managing yourself. This is the absolute foundation of everything we're about to talk about. This quote, wow, it just nails it, doesn't it? A mind undisciplined is a leader defeated. And this isn't just a nice saying. It's pulled directly from the spirit of the Shikshapatri, which has verses that are all about conquering your own internal chaos. Your anger, your ego, your impulses. The message is crystal clear. Before you even think about leading a team through a crisis, you have to be able to lead your own mind. So what do we call this in today's corporate world? Emotional regulation. That's the fancy term for it. And it's amazing the Shikshapatri has all these passages about steering clear of anger and pride, basically calling them out as things that cloud your judgment. It's like an 1826 textbook on emotional intelligence. This is the skill that stops you from hitting send on that furious email or making a really bad call when the pressure is on. Okay, that sounds great, but how do you actually put it into practice? Well, here's a super practical 3-step guide. Step 1, just pause. Something happens, take a breath, create a little space between the event and your reaction. Step 2 is about knowing yourself. Identify your emotional triggers. What is it that really sets you off? Is it a certain person, a missed deadline? Figure it out. And finally, step 3, reframe. Instead of seeing a setback as a catastrophe, you train yourself to ask, okay, what's the lesson here? Where's the opportunity in this mess? All right, so we've started with mastering ourselves, that internal world. Now, let's zoom out and look at how a leader shows up for their team and in the world. And this next part, it's all about building a solid foundation of trust. I absolutely love this idea. Let your actions be your most persuasive argument. I mean, think about it. You can give all the rah-rah speeches in the world, but at the end of the day, your team is watching what you do. And this idea is baked right into the Shikshapatri, with verses about keeping your promises and being totally honest in your dealings. It's the ultimate walk the talk philosophy. The modern business speak for this is ethical accountability. And what's wild is that the text isn't just suggesting this is a nice idea, it demands it. It lays out really clear rules against things like bribery, fraud, and lying. It treats integrity not as some clever strategy, but as a core duty. And what happens when you lead like that? You create a culture where people feel secure, they feel respected, and they trust that you're playing fair. You just can't put a price on that kind of trust. So let's put this into a really clear side-by-side comparison. On one side, you've got reactive management. This is all about short-term gains, right? The principles can change on a whim, and it often relies on fear and pressure. It just creates chaos and uncertainty. But on the other side, you have this Shikshapatri-guided leadership. It's focused on long-term value. It's built on an ethical core that doesn't waver. It leads through inspiration, not fear. And the result, sustainable trust. I mean, the difference couldn't be more clear. Okay, so we've looked at the inner work and the outer actions. Now, let's tie it all together with one big, powerful takeaway. And here it is. If you forget everything else from this explainer, please remember this one sentence. The whole philosophy boils down to this. Effective management isn't really about controlling other people. It's about mastering yourself. Real leadership, real influence, it all comes from that inner core of discipline and integrity. You don't get the best from your team by micromanaging them. You get it by being the kind of leader they want to follow. That, right there, is the timeless wisdom we've been talking about. And so that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to take with you. You know, the Shikshapatri is just one example of finding modern lessons in ancient wisdom. So, what about your industry, your job? What are the old school principles, the foundational ideas, that might be holding some unexpected wisdom for you right now? Where is that timeless wisdom hiding in plain sight in your world?